Hey guys, it's Pluto here, and you might be wondering why I have my scuba goggles. Well, this is not a scuba video. This is actually a video of my Chinese GoPro knockoff, the Victor AC920. And if we can have flash in here somehow, you should be able to see inside if we had flash. Hold on. Flashlight on. Ooh, okay. We can see inside here, inside the battery compartment, EU importer. It's imported from Germany, and the actual manufacturer is in China, Shenzhen. Victor AC920 action camera, made in Shenzhen, and then some Chinese name. Made in China, lithium-ion, blah, 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 blah. So, let me give an overview of the externals of the camera. Let me turn off the flash. Yeah, let me give an overview of the externals. The waterproof case I have for it. I'll turn it on, go through the settings, and then I'll give some demo footage as well and give my final thoughts. This will be primarily scuba related, because that's like the only really action camera hobby that I really have. I don't do like biking or anything. So yeah, as you can see outside, pretty small profile. We have a big power button here. We have our capture button here and a green light indicator. We have our up and down buttons here. And we have a touch screen, which you'll probably never be using. And we have our mini HDMI, our USB, and our SD card. And an interesting fact about this is that this camera is actually UVC. So under Linux and like any other operating system, this can act as a webcam, which is a pretty cool thing because it has like the standard GoPro screw mount built into it. So it's a pretty cool feature. I haven't used it as a webcam so far. Maybe for later videos where I'm like programming and stuff, or I'm doing like a video essay or something. I'll use this as a webcam, and you'll guys see the quality of it compared to my my ThinkPad. Actually, I'll do a comparison later on in this video. But yeah, so that's an overview of the outside. Pretty standard. This itself isn't that water resistant or waterproof. As you can see here, you have the microphone holes and this. I think it's the speaker holes. Yeah, but it's a inexpensive little plastic machine. Here's a waterproof case. Now this isn't actually the exact waterproof. Sorry, my alarm was going off. Case that came with the camera. This is actually a second one that I bought. But basically, whatever manufacturer that made this in China makes these cameras for a bunch of manufacturers. And so a bunch of these knockoff GoPro cases will fit and work with this camera. So this is what the waterproof case looks like. It's good for a certain amount of meters. I'll probably put on the screen right now or put in the description. And it uses a simple silicone O-ring, some foam pads to keep the camera from rattling about, and just your standard plastic housing. And so far, no leaks, no complaints, no nothing. Only thing is, with some buttons, you have to be careful in that you have to press them like really hard for them to actually actuate. But so far, the buttons have been completely waterproof, no complaints there. Okay, so let's boot it up and then go through some of the settings. So let me grab a battery. So these settings are what I found to be optimal for this camera for the purposes of scuba and video quality. What I optimized for was high frame rate while still looking good and having decent file sizes and being easy to edit. So you can tinker around with the settings, but this is what I found to be the best, especially for scuba related stuff. Now, if you would turn on. Okay, so you get the Victor logo, and you can see you get a little preview of what the camera is seeing. And so if we go into settings, So for video resolution, I have 1080p, 60 FPS. For voice record, I have on because you want voice. For EV, I set 0 because I don't want to tweak that at all. And then you can scroll. I turned electronic image stabilization off because I'd rather do that in software and be able to tweak it instead of having it hard coded into the video and having the video look unnatural. Loop record off, time lapse is off. Cool. Now for general settings, power frequency, you can set it to be the country, like whether it's Japan or US. Sounds, turned all of that off because you want none of that. Microphone built in. It actually has an external microphone that it ships with, and it plugs in via the USB. But obviously with the waterproof case, you can't use external camera. But this also makes it useful for like vlogging and stuff like that, because you can have a clip-on microphone attached to the camera while you're like, I don't know, pointing at something, and have better audio than the inbuilt microphone, which is pretty terrible. And it's any USB microphone, any microphone that can be powered over USB. So that's a pretty cool feature, and I really appreciate it. Let's see what else. White balance, I just do it to auto because you don't want to be changing that in the middle of a dive. Effect, normal, and what was the last one? Distortion calibration. So I did distortion calibration on because I didn't want to do the tweaking in the software to try to find out like the optimal values for removing fisheye through my video editor. I'd rather the camera do that. And so for this, you can either have image stabilization on or the fisheye removal on. And I chose to have the fisheye removal on just to make things easier for editing, because odds are for Scuba and stuff, you're taking clips and things where you don't really need the stabilization, because when you're diving, you're able to hold a pretty stable platform. Obviously, depending on your hobby, that will change. But I think it's a good thing to note that that the distortion calibration and the electronic image stabilization are not mutual. You can't have them both on at the same time. And then we have diving mode. I turn that off because I'd rather do that in the video editing software as well, because depending on your dive depth, you want different levels of adding in the red color. And the dive mode for this is I believe it's flat. It just adds in like a flat level of red. Let's go back to dive mode. See, it's just on and off. And so even if it is like auto and it adjusts automatically, I'd rather do the color correction in my video editing software, where I can play with the saturation and the contrast and all those values, along with setting the white values and the color values for adding back in the red hue. What else is there? Day and time, that's fine. Where is the last one? Screensaver off. Where's this one was actually very useful. So the auto power off is useful for saving battery, basically, because on like longer dives, the battery lasts pretty long, but if you're not careful about changing the battery between dives, you can run into the case where you're running low on battery. And I have it off and the auto power on record off as well. But if I know I'm doing like a longer dive, I'll turn both those options on, just so I can conserve my battery, because sometimes you forget and then something really cool happens, right? And your GoPro is like already off and you have to turn it on, wait for it to turn on, then press the record button, right? And by that time, the thing has already swam away. Language is fine, and format cards. System doesn't really have much. And yeah, that's all the settings. So I'm going to go back into software and then edit in all the example video. So for example, using this as a webcam and some of the footage that I collected from this, using it as a scuba camera. So I'll see you guys in the software. Cool, see ya. Okay, so as we saw earlier, I tried to record it using OBS, and the camera actually crashed while doing so. But from the still that you got, you can see the camera quality compared to my default webcam. Both cameras are using motion JPEG for 720p at 30 FPS, and you can see the quality of difference. I think that the Victor camera, with its wider field of view, because it is a fisheye camera, did actually end up look a little bit better if the details were a little bit like over sharpened though. It's just that for some reason when you're using the PC webcam mode, the camera just decides to crash, which is kind of a huge minus in my book. And now, finally, I'll overlay some of the Scuba footage that I had, color corrected, so you can see what this camera can do in the Scuba context, and hopefully maybe a little bit just in general what the quality looks like. It isn't the best camera in the world, but for underwater, where a lot of the stuff is pretty grainy anyways, unless you get really close to what you're capturing, I think it does perfectly fine, and I won't be sad if it somehow gets damaged or water damaged. So yeah, I'll play the footage, and hopefully we'll cut to that right now while I'm talking over it. And yeah, this is just Scuba footage with color correction enabled to re-add the red hues, and with some saturation, contrast, and sharpening to try to make the things pop. And so for the purpose of this camera for me, which was not like getting professional level quality out of my recordings, it was just to get, you know, little quick clips for myself and for my memories, and to share with friends and families. I think this camera does a perfectly awesome job, considering the price point, and considering not how disposable it is, but how you know, bad you wouldn't feel if something terrible happened to it, like a GoPro or something, where that's like orders of magnitudes more expensive. For a cheap Chinese GoPro knockoff, I'm very happy with the purchase, and this is after a year of using it with multiple trips. Yeah, hopefully you found this video informative and enjoyable, and this is Pseudoputo out.